21?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, and we're not even recruiting. We're just... it's crazy.
Incredible.
Yeah.
How many were when we started together? When you sponsored one of my shows?
It was me, Hillary, Caroline, and Devin.
Yeah, I thought there were
like
only
4, maybe 5.
That's incredible.
You mean the infamous "Will you wear my hat" sentence that changed both of our lives?
That was...
dude, wear my hat. You're like, what? I said, will you wear my hat? You're like, yeah, I guess so.
Hey, if it's got a good logo, I'll wear it. I'll wear it. Wait, so you had 4 people working for you when we started in 2019.
Well, yeah, it was myself and Justine, who I don't count, and then we had 4 agents, yeah.
Now, Justine, how come you don't count Justine?
Well, she's a licensed agent, but she's the COO, she's the admin,
Okay.
she handles all the money, all the paperwork, all the agents, all the personalities, all the people, so she's not a producing agent. Mm-hmm. I'm still in production, but I'm definitely gone from, multi-million-dollar producing real estate agent to the CEO of a business. Gotcha. I'm more running the business now than I am out there in production.
Gotcha.
Purposely. Gotcha. We're like 3 years into a 5-year get Joe out of production plan.
That's good.
Yeah.
Open it up for you to be able to do what?
Run the team, essentially. Run the business, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, essentially run the business. So we have, I think, 14 agents, 3 marketing, myself, Justine, I have a personal assistant, and then the team has a team assistant. So Lauren Stevens, I don't know if you know Lauren or not, she's local. But Lauren
Stevens?
Yeah.
Is that her?
That's her name, yeah, Lauren Stevens, yeah.
Last name, not married?
Last name, not married, yeah. She'll do for all the agents what Claire does for me.
Gotcha, okay. Gotcha. So when you started, when I say started, you and I started working together in 2019, I think it was.
I think it was earlier than that.
2018, maybe.
Yeah, maybe 2018. It was the afternoon of the Country Fest at the coffee shop in Portsmouth.
That's right.
That had to be 4 years ago.
That's right, at least.
Yeah, I remember distinctly that the New England Patriots were playing Jacksonville.
Yeah.
And I had a soccer game that morning, and all of my buddies were going to watch the soccer game and then roll into the 1 o'clock Patriots game at Fastnet. And I got a lot of abuse when I unnecessarily admitted I was going to a country fest that afternoon instead of watching the game. So I don't know why I remember that, but I remember it was Jacksonville. I remember that it was a 1 o'clock game.
You missed it.
I missed it because I was at your festival.
That's right. Yeah,
There was no TV.
Oh my god! And I rember you guys were right off to the right. You guys had your tent set up, right?
Me and Hillary did it. We had a spin the wheel thing. We were giving away, hats and T-shirts and so on. Yeah.
So here we are in this bus that we just built last 2 years.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So thank you for supporting us. I mean, this is like from our early days when we first started, just playing music in these little dive bar pubs, and now it's almost like we're playing for places like American Airlines, and we're playing for these big corporations all over the country.
It's amazing.
And without you and guys like Pete Sherman with Newport Propane, and it's just I wouldn't have been in a place where I'm at now.
Yeah, you were already doing pretty good by the time I got to you, because yes, you were playing in a coffee shop in Portsmouth, Rhode Island, not American Airlines, but there was probably a couple hundred people there on a Sunday afternoon.
Good, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like you were playing in front of 4 old men and their dog. I mean, it was hundreds of people there.
Yeah, it was good. It was
it was a good event. Yeah. We were
Outdoor.
happy.
We had a lot of good people too in that one. We had a lot of guys come up from New York and some from Nashville. So it was that was a fun first event for us to be involved with.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, and then we did the whole hat thing for a while.
Yeah. So that was
actually the first day of the hat.
That was the first day because I was at my table with Hillary.
Yep.
And I'll be honest with you, I didn't even know who you were.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know you were the headline because there were several bands on before. And as you were walking by our table, Hillary literally, and I'll give her credit for this, she said, "That's Ben O'Connor." And I was like, "That's the headline." He's like, "Yeah." And you had an Adidas hat on.
Yeah.
So I grabbed one of the Remax hats off our table. And I said, "Hey Ben," and you turned around and I was like, "Would you wear my hat on the stage?" And you kind of hesitated for a second, like, that's an odd thing to ask me, but you're like...
Head's too big and picky about the logos.
You're like, I guess so, and you just kind of took it with you. You didn't put it on immediately or anything like that.
Yeah.
But like I said, then you switched the hat and gave us a shout out, and we were delighted, we were thrilled. We had the whole thing on video, it was great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome, it was great.
Yeah, and we've had fun. We've done these videos together, teaching you your guitar, and you had it upside down.
Oh my God.
That was fun.
Yeah, I told you I was on I was on YouTube like 2 weeks ago looking for the Day in the Life video, and I stumbled across that guitar. I was like, oh my god, what an idiot. Upside down.
We'll link that video for anybody who wants to see.
Oh my god, yeah, that was...
It's public forever.
I played a few chords. I mean,
it sounded good. You did. I think you had 2 or 3.
Yeah, it was mostly you.
You've never played that though, right?
No.
Hey.
No, I don't have a musical bone in my body.
It worked that day.
It was fun. That was a fun video.
So I know you're a little pressed for time. You got a lot going on. You got 21 people working for you now.
Yes.
You had 4 or 5 in 2018 when we first started together. So you have multiplied.
Yes.
And would you contribute that for the market of 2019 into 2020 when the housing just blew up? You just needed more people to work for you. Is that why?
No. I mean, honestly, myself and Justine, and I'll give credit to the other agents like Caroline and Devin, Hillary, at the time Alyssa Mazzacco, but we really kind of created, even a small team, created very much a culture and community orientated business plan that people were attracted to. So we were in a tiny, maybe 375 square foot space on Thames Street.
Yeah.
Tiny. It was like a little annex office. And people would call us and say, hey, we want to join your team. And well, we're not really hiring right now. We only have 4 desks. Literally, we had 4 desks. There was no room for anything else.
I'm going to move this over just a little
bit.
Yeah,
sure. But we just, rather than be rude and just say, hey, we're not interested, we would say, oh, well, yeah, come on in and we'll have a chat. And then we'd already say, look, we're not hiring this person. But then they come in and, it's hard to ignore talent. I mean, these people were good, and we're like, oh damn, this should be a great fit, or he'd be a great fit.
Were you guys advertising?
No, we were not. We have not at all tried to recruit on any level. We went from 4 to 6 to 8 to 10 without even trying. By literally saying we're not going to hire this person, and then saying, oh damn. We had one military specialist that came in. We really wanted a military person. Happens to be a military spouse.
How come military?
Excuse me?
Why military?
Well, just because we're on Aquidneck Island. There's a big presence here. Obviously, the Navy, but the Army's here. What do you call it? The Coast Guard. I mean, there are military branches other than Navy. The Navy's the main one. But we thought that having a military spouse on our team would help us to infiltrate that market and help military people relocating here, and that was something we were interested in. So we loved Jessica. She was fantastic, but we primarily were interested because she was a military spouse, and that was something that we felt our team needed.
Got it.
And then we met Marlon, who's bilingual, and there's a big Latino presence on the island as well, and we felt that could. So it's like you just meet people and you find out about them, and then they're interesting to you, and you're like, oh, we're really not hiring, but I don't want them to go somewhere else, you know? Yeah. So we really, if we were actually recruiting and had a big office, we probably could have had a lot more agents, but that just wasn't our goal. We really, and it's not our goal right now, we really want to focus on the agents we have. And, I don't see myself any different than any, American football coach or basketball coach or anybody else on the planet. All I want to do is get the best out of them. Out of what we have. We're really not looking to expand, although now that you tell me we went from 4 to 21, I guess that does sound a little...
That's crazy.
Yeah, a little crazy, but we weren't even trying. I mean, that's the thing, we really weren't.
One of the things I noticed about you guys, especially the way that you operate, your videos, your reels, your marketing, everything that comes out from Fitzpatrick team, and for anybody listening, Fitzpatrick team Newport, you're Rhode Island, all of Rhode Island?
Yes, the whole state, yeah.
Okay, so that's one of the things I've noticed from you guys is there is a clear camaraderie. There's a clear team. It's not just some join us, not some quick catch thing. There's a clear family feel to you guys. And I don't know everyone on your team very well, but what I do know you pretty well, and I've worked with you now for a couple of years, and everything that I've seen, and I've followed you guys for a while, everything that I've seen is very down home, very coming from a core nucleus, which would be you and I say Justine, right?
Yeah.
I say Justine. There's a clear family happening. And I think that's why you're just blowing up organically, because there's just a yearning, I think, for that. We're pack animals. We want to be part of something. And when people see genuine camaraderie, genuine team, you can't beat that. There's no way to compete against that. So the fact that you guys have literally multiplied in 2 years, that's mind-blowing to me. And that kind of leads me to my next question, where you see where the economy has gone the last 2 years. And you and I, we're not economists, so it's hard for us to comment, but just from what you've seen, the last 2 years, we've skyrocketed.
Yeah.
Home values have gone crazy. And where are we now? We're at the final quarter of 2022. There's a lot of talk of Armageddon. There's a lot of talk of things going downhill.
Yeah.
What do you see in reality, not so much projections, but in reality, where do you see right now in this final quarter?
I mean, I see a increase or stabilization at best of interest rates. I see a downward in pricing heading towards what I would call a leveling. I don't see any crash coming. Anybody who bought a home in the last 4 or 5 years has £200 of equity in it. I mean, where are these foreclosures going to come from? Where are these short sales going to come from?
Okay.
People say, we're heading into the biggest recession ever. I'm like, you have equity in your home. The guy that cleans your pool has equity in his home. The guy that mows your lawn has equity in the home. I have equity in my home. Everywhere you go, people may, going forward, struggle to pay their mortgage, but they're certainly not going to walk away from hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equity in their home. So inventory will increase, in my opinion. Hopefully interest rates will level off. I think they're going to go up again. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they hit 8% before the end of the year. But, I'm a sports guy, like rugby and soccer and so on, so I always use these analogies. But, like, the Fed is increasing rates indirectly by increasing the Fed rate because they're trying to curb spending and make sure that inflation doesn't get out of control and the dollar is not worthless.
Right.
If we kept this up for another 5 years or so. It's kind of like in sports, like in soccer, for example, if there's some misbehavior or guys are getting out of control or it's too passionate or too emotional, the ref will hand out a few yellow cards to calm everybody down and try to get the behavior back to where he wants it to be so we can have a good game of soccer rather than just showing red cards all over the place. So I just think that, I think there's no doubt that interest rates are going to hit 8% and they may level off there for a little bit. But let's just say you're a buyer listening to this and interest rates are at 7.5%. Right? Three things can happen. You buy a house at 7.5% and the rates drop in the next year or 12 to 18 months and you refinance at a lower rate. The second thing that can happen is the rates stay the same long term and you don't end up or down. It's just the status quo and you continue and no harm, no foul. Or the third thing that happens is rates continue to raise and potentially hit 8.25 or 8.375 or 8.5 within the next 12 to 18 months, in which case you're now a percentage point below those and you made a good decision to buy. So I am actually encouraging buyers out there to buy now. Understand that you have to love the property, you have to be able to afford it, and you have to have some savings. I'm not suggesting that people just buy willy-nilly. They have to have all the other plans in place, but I wouldn't allow today's interest rate to stop you from making a decision if you're ready. Like, I'm a buyer right now in this market.
Yeah.
I'm buying property right now.
So we kind of, and I don't know if this is true or not, I don't really know the market, but as far as where we live, so I grew up Middletown, Rhode Island, little town. Did you grow up around?
Well, I'm from Ireland.
You're from Ireland.
Yeah.
When did you move here?
1994.
I couldn't.
Yeah. I've been there for 30 years.
You moved here in 94?
Yeah.
Okay, so...
28, whatever that is, 28, 29 years, yeah.
Okay, and when did you move to?
I flew into New York,
yeah.
Went to Boston, and then ended up in Newport, just following the work.
Gotcha.
Looking for a job, yeah.
So I feel like in my 28 years of life here, I've noticed that this island's like a bubble. And it's almost insulated from whatever else happens. And yes, if there was an economy downturn, it would experience it. But I feel like this island, since the Vanderbilts were here in the 1800s, always maintained its value and its pizzazz, so to say.
Yeah.
So in a time, let's say you say definitely now is the time for buying. Do you ever talk about that with buyers, where you're saying that we live in a very unique place, where it's not just in the middle of Massachusetts? There's a very unique.
Yeah, you can go anywhere in the world, mention Newport, Rhode Island, and people recognize it as a resort town.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get that. And I don't go into it too much with my buyers that are here looking for an everyday property, year-round residents that live here. It's more investors and comparing Newport to, say, Montauk, New York, or Block Island, or Martha's Vineyard, or Nantucket, or the Cape. Like, if you see Newport in that realm of a resort town as everybody else, then Newport is, without a question, by far the most affordable of those options.
Okay.
That's the flip side to people saying that everything's ridiculously expensive here, which I also see. It's not that I don't see both sides of the coin, but I think that there are two different ways of looking at the same situation.
Yeah, no, I definitely see that. So if you're comparing Newport to everywhere else, you're like it's taking a Cadillac versus Chevy.
Yeah, well, I think
In
that
a sense. You got to compare
price-wise,
Cadillacs and Mercedes and BMW.
no, but I would compare Newport on its best day with any one of those 5 places.
Right. Yeah, because they're in the same class.
I think so.
Yeah, I agree. I think what gives the Newport the advantage, though, and I've noticed it in the last few years, we're becoming less seasonal and more year-round. There's more and more things happening throughout the year.
Yeah.
So I look at it as a place. My brother just bought a property, and this whole area seems like a place that isn't bulletproof from something that's bad economically.
Correct.
But it seems like it would be quick to recover.
Quicker, yes. Instead of a 30% flat drop in lesser, how do I say this? In lesser in-demand areas.
Yeah.
We'll see a 6, 8, 10% drop. It's certainly possible, but we're more sheltered here for sure. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
There's no question. I mean, look at our year round here. So everybody, including the Cape and all those other places I mentioned, they all have Memorial Day to Labor Day. So let's just grant that, right? Then Labor Day we have the Chowder Fest, right? And then that rolls into the Boat Festival, and then that rolls into Columbus Day weekend, and that rolls into Thanksgiving, which rolls into the holidays, and your Christmas, and then you got MLK weekend in January, and then you got Valentine's Day, and then you got President's Day weekend.
Yeah, there's always something.
And then you got Paddy's Day, and then you're rolling into the next wedding season in April and May. So I think that unlike some of these other places, we don't just get dropped like a sack of potatoes the day after Labor Day. Like, there is a lot of life and a lot of things happening here. People will buy here and essentially live here year round, even if they're not here all 12 months, more than they will in any of these other towns.
Yeah. Well, so let's go back. I want to talk about, so you were born and raised in Ireland.
Yeah.
What age did you move?
Yeah, 19.
At 19.
I think I was 18 actually. No, 19. Yeah, 19.
Okay. Where town-wise, where are you from?
I'm from Artane, which is a town in Dublin. Yeah, it's just north of the city, about 3 miles.
County Cork is where my family's from.
Yeah.
So how close?
Oh, nowhere near us. They're a bunch of muck savages. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's actually in the complete opposite side of the country. Yeah,
Okay.
it's very rural. Well, Cork City obviously is a big city. I think it's the second biggest city in Ireland, maybe outside of Galway. I'm not sure about Belfast, but it's up there. It's the top 2 or 3 biggest city. But Cork itself, the county Cork, is very rural, and it's in the southwest part of Ireland.
Okay. I've never been. My brother's been, but I haven't been. When you left at 19, was it with family? Why did you leave?
How do I say this in a nice way? Ireland in the early 90s was a bleak place. There wasn't a lot of jobs, there wasn't a lot of money. I grew up a little north, but essentially in the inner city. I mean, that's where I worked, it's where I went to my job every day. And I had decided at like 15 that I was leaving Ireland. So I mean, I planned for this like 3 years in advance.
Wow.
I even changed schools. I went from
To know that at 15.
yeah, I went from an all Irish school. We spoke all Gaeilge, Oscailge, which is our Irish native language. And I actually switched out from an all Irish school to an English school just to work on like my economics and science and terms. I mean, obviously English was my first language, but in school I spoke Irish. And every subject, geography, science, history, we learned everything in Irish.
Wow.
So in preparation for moving to the States, I switched schools and I was ready. I mean, I was ready to go live the dream, so to speak.
Wow.
Me and my £406 or whatever I'd saved over those 3 years, which is about $500, by the way.
I was gonna say, what's translation?
Yeah, I blew through it in like a day and a half. After getting
God.
Yeah.
Did you come here alone?
No, I came here with some friends because I graduated secondary school, which is high school, in say May, and then I came that summer with some guys I was going to go to college with. In fact, I went back and did my freshman year in college in Dublin, and then came back again when I was 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you came into New York?
I came into Newport the second time because I already had a job and an apartment and everything lined up the second time around.
So what was your first job when you moved here? Very first job?
I was making beds and washing dishes at the In-Group Associates. It was called Smuggler's Landing. Was the hotel.
Mm-hmm. Did you just walk in?
No. One of the guys got a job, chambermaiding, literally. I know it's a very female-heavy job, but we didn't care.
You said chambermaiding?
That's what it's called, like
What is that?
turning over beds.
Oh, okay.
And then I worked in the restaurant as a dishwasher, and I worked at Christie's for Jimmy Server in 1994. He hired me as a dishwasher, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't realize this was like several levels of jobs to become a dishwasher. Like you had to be like the onion guy and like the silverware wiper and all this kind of stuff, and then you got to like wash a few dishes. But I ended up being at Christie's honestly for probably 10 years. I think
Christie's?
2004, Christie's Newport, yeah.
In Newport, wow.
Yeah. I got that same job the same summer, and I also worked at Paradise Cleaning that summer of '94.
Okay.
Jim Paradise had on, he's at the corner of Quidnick and Valley Road.
Okay.
So he would, he would go in after a fire, and we'd clean off the radiators and stuff. I remember we did a job at Fort Adams that summer. The Navy went in and just like whitewashed like 40 units. But rather than pay them to trim the paint and take their time, they would just like whitewash them.
Yeah.
And then me and this other guy went in with like some sort of chemical, and we dip our finger in it and clean off all the light switches and stuff. My finger nearly fell off. It's still not the same now.
Really?
Yeah, 28 years later.
God.
Yeah.
Humble beginnings.
Yeah, Paradise Cleaning, Christie's, and Smuggler's Landing. Those are my first kind of.
Smuggler's Landing was at New York?
No, that was no. I never worked in New York. I just flew into.
Just
flew in there. Yeah.
So why Newport? Why?
Because somebody found a job at the in-group.
So you just went with.
Actually, it wasn't even my friend. It was his sister, and she called us and said, "Hey, they're hiring here."
Yeah.
So we all went down there the next day, and they hired all of us.
Big Irish population here.
Well, back then it was even more.
Way more.
Wait, you said you're 28 years old?
28, yeah.
So you weren't even born when I moved
No,
there.
you said 94 you came.
Yeah.
That's when I was born. So you came the year I was born. Oh no.
Wow.
Oh no.
Yeah, that makes me feel old. Okay. But anyway, yeah. But back then, honestly, from like 94 to probably 2004,
Yeah.
there was probably several hundred Irish students, we were called J1ers, here. Now it's less and less and less and less. In fact, I think like the last summer or two, I might see 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people wandering up and down Thames Street, but it used to be like you'd spot us a mile away.
Yeah.
The white legs and the short shorts, and I've seen darker milk bottles in some of these legs, and the red hair and the freckles. You could spot us a mile away. But honestly, I don't know what happened, but I'm assuming it had to do with COVID, or assuming it had to do with cost of living, but not anymore. No. You mean year-round Irish or just summer? I think there might be.
Well, I think
100 Irish people living in Newport.
Year round.
Yes, yeah, year round. Yeah.
We know the Fifth Ward was a big collection of Irish people. Right?
Well, Irish Americans. Yeah. Yes.
So when a lot of people, my grandfather came through Canada and that whole thing, but I was always told, and I was under the impression that their Fifth Ward in Newport was always a dominantly Irish.
Yeah, because it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, the families with like 14 kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, those families are still there, but they would be the older generation now as opposed to the kids. Sheekies, Beehans, Kerwins.
Yeah, I mean,
big
you see
families.
it today.
Yeah,
all the
they're still there, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But the families of 12, 13, 14 kids would now be the grandparents.
Right.
But they're still around. We still see them all the time, yeah.
So you came here, you're working, you're doing all these different things. Why and how did you get into real estate? Because
It's odd, I was...
Because that's intimidating.
I was actually still washing dishes when I applied for this job.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you say applied. What do you mean applied?
There was an ad in the newspaper, Prudential Prime Properties. There was a rental office down next door to the Red Parrot. And this would have been in 1996. Mm-hmm. So I've been here, say, 2 full summers and maybe a year and change at that point. And it said something like, interesting sales job, restaurant experience helpful, or something like that. I know I had restaurant experience, so I was kind of intrigued, and I responded, and then they told me it was a real estate position. I had to drive to Providence 2 nights a week for 3 hours
for
like 8 weeks. There was another girl there that was also applying for the same job, and they told us, well, we could hire both of you. So I agreed to carpool with her. And after her driving for 3 or 4 consecutive times, and my excuses, I finally admitted I didn't have a car, and she would be driving the whole time. But she was nice about it. She was fine. So we actually both went up. We both did this course. We both got licensed, and we both worked at that real estate office. I ended up working there until 2000. So I worked there for 3 years. Yeah.
That was Prudential.
Prudential Prime Properties rental division. It became America's Realty. It's like a little rental office right next to the Red Parrot.
Gotcha. So before we jump into, because I want to really dig into how you started your company, because this is wildly impressive today where you're at. So I want to figure out. But when you first got here, I have no idea, and I think most people listening have no idea what it is to move to a new country, leave everything behind, let alone with just a couple of friends, but no family with you, no close support system. What was the worst part of it? What was the most dreadful part of it?
Not having money for food.
Yeah.
I mean, I called my mother one time. I said, "Mom, I literally don't have food." Because the restaurant fed you, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you can't go there for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then on your day off. And I'll never forget this. My uncle Eddie was a custodian in a school in upstate New York, and he wired me $100. I'll never forget it. And I thought honestly, that was a week's work for me at the time. I was making $4.50 an hour. And it actually took me, because I was only, say, 19 at the time, 18 or 19 at the time. I can't remember what, 1994, how old was I? I was 19.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me several years to grasp the concept that yes, he was my uncle, yes, he was in his 50s, and yes, I thought he was just kind of older people just have money. It took me several years to figure out that he probably didn't have that. But this was the day before cell phones, there was no computers, there was no internet. And my mother didn't have any way of getting me.
Yeah.
Well, my parents didn't have anything anyway. But even if they had $100, they had no way of getting it to me. And I've thanked him and mentioned him over the years. But really, when you think back now, here we are, 28 years later. Like, he was literally a custodian, and I had to find $100 to send to his nephew. And I used it to buy food immediately. I went and bought like the most food I've ever bought in my life. I didn't even have an apartment at the time, so it was like staying with somebody, yeah.
Staying on someone's couch?
Yeah.
Just,
on a mattress, yeah. Wow. I had a mattress on their living room floor.
Unreal.
Yeah, I still have pictures of it.
Oh my God, I wish you brought them. So you were starting out basically with nothing. You had nothing.
Well, I did have a friend. A friend of mine came with me, Jerry O'Connor. He actually still lives here.
Jerry O'Connor?
Yeah.
That's my uncle's name and my brother's name.
Yeah. Yeah, Jerry O'Connor came when I went back to school. When I came back in 1995 for good, he came with me. So there was two of us at least. So the second time I came back, I had a little bit of support because there was two of us, but we didn't have any family. Like I said, I had an uncle in New York, but that's it. He was in upstate New York. I didn't have anybody in Rhode Island or anywhere near here. No.
So we moved to St. John for a very short time. Olivia and I moved to St. John beginning of before 2020 went down, and it's very intimidating when you move to a place. And St. John is part of it's U.S. territory, so everything there is very familiar still. It feels a little different. It's Caribbean, it's a different vibe and everything, but it's very, very intimidating. And we were talking about and thinking about this, Mike. Can you imagine 100 years ago, 200 years ago, and even people in our generation like yourself that have moved here and maybe have had a friend or somebody to talk to, but at the end of the day you come back and you just go to bed by yourself and you wake up trying to figure out where the next meal's coming from. And it's just, I think it's very humbling, and it's character building at a level that most people don't experience. And if you were to look back and say never leave Ireland, what would you be doing if you were still there?
I don't know. I think that most people look back and regret risks they didn't take.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to look back and regret a risk that I did take, because it's obviously worked out well for me, but there was a lot of heartache on the way. I would have loved to live in Ireland. My parents are there. My grandparents are there until they passed in the last several years. I've got 6 siblings, and they all live. Well, actually, I've got a brother in Chicago now, and my sister lives here in Middletown. But obviously, when I was younger, all 6 of my siblings lived there. But I wouldn't have met my wife. I wouldn't have had my kids. I wouldn't have the house that I live in Fifth Ward.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have this business. So I don't regret anything.
Yeah.
But I do often think, I think that I have an ingrained work ethic that came from my grandparents and my parents, and possibly my great grandparents, but that I can see. I got that from my parents and my grandparents. I have the ability to sell, so I would have been in insurance or mortgages or real estate or Bibles or encyclopedias. I have no idea, but
selling something.
I would have been selling something, yeah, and I would have been successful, I think, because I have the work ethic and I have the ability to sell. So I think I would have been fine, but I don't know specifically what I would have been doing. But
something with selling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, something in sales. Yeah, I would think so.
All right, so we fast forward now to Prudential. You were with,
Yeah.
right? And then you left them what year?
May 1st, 2001.
Okay.
I just did the math in my head.
Pretty good.
I'm at Remax 21 years.
Wow. So when you left Prudential, what was the next step? You had your real estate license, right?
Yeah, they Joe Rose and Bruce Allen, the brokers of Remax, actually approached me. And
before you left?
Well, that's why I left.
Okay.
I was happy just working away.
Yeah.
And they said, look, we're always looking for young talent. Would you consider coming over to Remax? We can give you some training, blah, blah, blah. And at the time, I was doing mostly rentals. So I had gotten into sales, but I fell into most of them just by landlords I had good experiences with. I had good experience with me wanting to sell.
Mm-hmm.
And I was technically a rental and sales agent, even though 95% of my business was rentals.
Mm-hmm.
But I got into Salve Regina Rentals. I put my whole heart into it. Like by 98, 99 and 2000, like 75% of those graduating classes all rented for me. I really got a pretty good stronghold on it. And then I had some sales as well. But either way, whatever I was doing was enough to get their attention. And they invited me to join Remax, which I took them up on.
So Joe Rose, because
Yeah.
I've heard that name.
Yeah, Joe Rose. He owns Remax with Bruce Allen.
Gotcha. So he gave you a chapter, almost franchised?
No, I just came and became a real estate agent in their brokerage.
Gotcha, okay.
Which I still am today.
So I don't understand the difference with Remax, Fitzpatrick team, and as you see different teams and different groups. How does that work? Because in my mind, I'm thinking of it's like franchise. It's like a franchise of Remax.
No, Remax is the franchise. Bruce
Okay.
and Joe own it on the island.
Got it.
And I run a team under their brokerage.
Got it, okay.
So I was an agent, then I got someone to help me, then I got a rental agent, then I got a showing agent, and we just kind of became a team.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just a real estate agent under their brokerage.
Got it, okay. So that was in 2001
Yeah.
that you started. So you're 21 years now.
Yep.
Wow.
I mean, I hit the ground running. I mean, I was the number 2 Remax agent in the state of Rhode Island my first year. So I really hit the ground running. I took on everything they taught me, and so I mean, Remax was a big influence on why I became a successful realtor.
So when somebody's going to be, because we haven't bought a home before, I've never done it, and if I'm going to approach you guys to buy a house, what's the process that you take them through? What does it look like?
Well, let's just say the lead came through. You either emailed me or texted me or called me, or it came through realtor.com. Once that lead hits me, you immediately get, hey Ben, it's Joe Fitzpatrick, how are you? Are you available for a call? I've included a link to my digital buyer consult, which is a link that you click on and watch with your wife.
Yeah.
I walk you through the process of buying a house digitally, and then we'll follow up with a link to my schedule. It's called Schedule. Once you click on that and you pick a day and time that works for you that's available in my schedule, and then we have an in-person buyer consultation.
Nice.
100% of the time, no exceptions.
Yeah.
So
you got to meet them.
you got to meet them.
Yeah.
You don't get to look at houses. You don't get to get in my car. I don't take you out until we have that consultation, which includes me walking you through our process. We don't do things the same as everybody else. It includes referring you to a mortgage originator if you don't already have one.
Is this unique to you guys? Most people don't do this.
I don't think it's unique. It should be. It shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Whatever way that's supposed to be. Every agent should do this. I mean, we have no exceptions here on the team because we train our agents. You mentioned the word franchise earlier. Well, I feel like we have a franchise mentality in the sense that if you came to me and worked with me, or you came to me and worked with Patricia, or you worked with Rachel, or you worked with Caroline, the process and the system and the experience is the exact same.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
Like ordering French fries at McDonald's in East Bridgewater, Massachusetts, is the same as ordering French fries in Paris. Like that's the kind of mentality that we're trying to get across, that working with the Fitzpatrick team is going to be a good experience. So we try to take my listing presentation and have everybody have the same listing presentation. So they have the same responses to buyer objections. Here are our solutions. Here are some seller objections. Here are our solutions. So we're not all the same people. Our delivery is not going to be the same, but we are working on standardizing our buyer and seller process. So whether you called me, Ben, or anybody on my team, you would have the same experience in my mind. And essentially the next step is sending you data, sending you information or listings, and then you saying, hey, I want to see 4, 5, 6 properties in Tiverton on Saturday at 3 o'clock. That's essentially how simple it is.
Now, how about multi-unit? Because that's something we're interested in right now is getting into multi-unit income type properties where you're getting a 4 to 10 unit building. Do you guys facilitate those as well?
Yeah, of course, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't recommend as a first-time home buyer buying a 10-unit building, but if you really wanted to, I wouldn't.
As a business?
Yeah.
As not as a home buyer, but as a business?
Yeah, I would much prefer you to get your feet wet with smaller, more manageable property than a 10-unit. It's a lot of work. It can be a full-time building. Plus, with 25% down, you need to have a significant amount of cash. I mean, a 10-unit building, even in poor condition, is going to be 2 or 3 million on the island.
Yeah.
That's 750 grand in cash.
Yeah.
I would rather that be your second or third or fourth purchase. Again, these are just advice I'd give you. I'm not necessarily telling you what to do, but
take it to another market though. Take it to another market down south, somewhere where it's a little less.
Yeah.
And even duplex or what do you call it, triplex, quadplex, multi-unit, but it doesn't need to be a massive complex.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with that. You jump in too big, it becomes too much.
Yeah. My advice to you would be to live in one, if possible, at least part-time. Take your time picking your tenants, right?
Okay.
Just like your staff.
Mm-hmm.
Fire fast, hire slow.
Yeah.
Tenants can make or break an entire year for you. One tenant, even in a 10-unit building. So I would take your time.
Yeah.
I would vet the tenants. I would keep it manageable. If you're making 100 grand a year, don't have a $60,000 mortgage payment and just assume everybody will pay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean they're fantastic. With commercial properties, you're looking at 25% down, so you got to squirrel away some cash first.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you got a 10-unit for $1 million down south somewhere, which is entirely possible, it's still 250 grand in cash. That's a big decision. So locally here, we would just set you up with a portal on multifamilies instead of singles. So other than that, the process is the same. Here are your options. What day and time properties do you want to see, and we'll send you off to get approved. So it's the same process whether you're buying investment or owner occupied. Just the percentage down is different.
Do you get into any individual investments yourself? Do you multi-unit properties? Do you own any?
Yeah, I had 13 at one point on the island alone.
You get rid of them?
I sold some. I lost some. I went through a bad experience in 07, 08 like everybody else on the planet.
Yeah.
I had some foreclosures, which is unfortunate, a couple of short sales, but I think that right now I have the first property I ever bought, which was Pond Avenue in 1998. I still have that one. I think there's like 8 years left on that mortgage.
Wow.
Which also makes me feel old. I have my home, and then I have an investment property on Thames Street. So we have some investments, yeah.
Where on Thames?
Right next to O'Brien's, 523-525.
Nice.
It's a 4-family.
Yep.
Right on that restaurant road between Scales, Bouchard's, O'Brien's, right in that row.
Gotcha. So when you're looking at the world, the economy today, and you're seeing all these different conversations, you're not worried too much.
I'm not worried. I never have been. I just keep my head down and work.
Yeah.
I don't watch the news. I don't read newspapers. I don't pay attention to politicians. I just put my head down and work my ass off. And people think that's naive, but I don't care. It's worked for me, and it will continue to work for me. And people say, well, there's no inventory. Well, then make your own inventory. Get on the phone and call sellers all day long.
Convincing them to buy.
Convincing them to
sell.
buy or sell.
Yeah,
I mean, no matter what somebody throws at me, I have a solution. And it may be a little caveman-like, and it may not be very sophisticated, but just put your head down and work.
Yeah.
Keep it simple. Stick to the basics. And I'm telling you the truth, I have not watched the news in 25 years.
Good for you.
I swear to God.
Yeah.
I
And you're doing just fine.
I just fine. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's a lot of noise.
It's a lot of noise, and I think a lot of it's fear and pushing an agenda, and a lot of it most of it doesn't even apply to your everyday life.
None of it applies to me.
Yeah.
I mean, no matter who's in power or in Congress or whatever word you want to use, nothing will ever derail hard work.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah. So do you keep an eye on any type of metric for economics, for housing market, for preparation for your own self, to advise buyers, to advise sellers?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I watched I understand and appreciate the correlation between interest rates and inventory and house pricing, and I do advise people. It's not like I just walk around and say, hey, everything's going to be great.
No, right.
I mean, I have had situations in my life that I've learned from. Like, I made a lot of mistakes in 2007, but I've learned from them, and I don't ignore these things, but I also don't let them stop me. Like we're heading straight into a recession right now, according to multiple sources. But rather than curl up into a ball like a lot of my competitors do, we're doubling down. So we just went from 1,200 square feet to 5,000 square feet. We just moved in here last week, the office that you're at right now.
This whole building's here?
The whole building's
I
ours.
love it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Instead of squirreling away our advertising dollars, we're doing more. So you can look at this situation like you got to squirrel away and survive the next 12 to 18 months. Or I look at it as, this is a fantastic opportunity for me to increase my market share, because the agents on the Fitzpatrick team can go 3, 6, 9, 12 months without making a sale, and we'll be just fine. There are real estate agents that have recently got licensed or not recently got licensed, all sorts of real estate agents that cannot go 3, 4, 5 months without a sale. They have to go get a job. That's called market share. And for the last 2 years, we've been losing out on sales and listings to agents that don't really have, in my opinion, the necessary skill set to provide to those clients what we would. And that's frustrating to me.
The difference being what exactly?
The difference being that they just don't have the skill set that we have. They don't know how to negotiate. They don't know how to win bidding wars. They don't know how to answer seller objections. They don't know how to properly market a home. I mean, I've seen houses with like 6 iPhone pictures. Like, that stuff drives me nuts. Like, where's the floor plans? Where's the drone shots? Where's the digital walkthrough?
I noticed that with you guys. Production's very well.
We treat all listings the same.
Yeah.
$50,000 caravan and a $5 million house gets all the same stuff. It's
Yeah.
consistency. We feel, and I guess I wouldn't be very good at my job if I didn't feel this way, we feel that we are better than everybody else, and that we do a better job, and we understand the concept of turning leverage into dollar bills, and we get our sellers the top dollar, and we get the buyers the best deal. So I think that as we head into this market, I'm not worried. Our market share is going to increase even if our overall sales decrease.
Do you think moving here with next to nothing, I'll say next to nothing because you said you had a friend, right?
Well, he don't either.
But I would say
He'll tell
that's
you.
pretty much nothing. I mean, you got the support of a friend, but you came here with nothing much in your pocket.
Yes.
Do you think that contributes to the way you work today, and it gives you a distinct advantage over most people?
Yeah, I think so. You know, I say this jokingly to the agents all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I had 5 jobs when I was 14. Like,
At the same time?
yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing that gives me a little less credit than what you might be attributing to is that Ireland was bleak. Like, I didn't risk anything. Like, I didn't really have anything to begin with. So it's not like I'm leaving a nice, safe home environment with a great job to, like, go off to America and, like, you know, live the dream. I really had nothing to begin with in the first place. So the worst thing that happens is I came here for 2 or 3 years, I survived, it didn't work out, and I went back to where I was when I left. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there wasn't a huge amount of risk involved for me when I did this. I guess is the only thing I would say if you're...
So it was only going up. It was only going up because
I mean,
you were
it's
already
America, man.
Yeah.
You know, it's where everybody wants to be.
Yeah.
Unless you're born and raised here, you'll probably never appreciate that, or maybe you will.
Unless you move somewhere else.
Yeah.
You got to move or go somewhere an extended period of time to just see how it is elsewhere.
Yeah.
Because when you do, it gives you an appreciation.
Yeah, it does. Also, it's funny, people say, oh, well, you know, it's because of the accent, blah, blah, blah. And whenever I hear that, I say, well, go somewhere else.
Yeah.
You'll be the one with the accent if it's so easy, you know?
Yeah.
You know, whether it's, you know, meeting women or working or
Yeah.
whatever, they attribute everything to the accent.
Does
right?
the accent help? Did the accent help with women
of
when
course.
you moved?
Yeah, of course.
No brainer.
Yeah, I don't remember. I mean, I've been retired a long time, but yeah, I mean, it's a conversation starter, isn't it? I mean,
Every time. Yeah.
think about where you've been in the world. As soon as you I mean, if you were in Ireland,
Yeah. Oh.
you'd be the one with the accent.
Right,
So
right.
yeah, I'm just joking about it, laughing now. But yeah, you just remind me, and you're like, go somewhere, and it gives you appreciation. And it's like, well, I just say that to people. Well, you go somewhere then.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. So you play rugby.
No, I don't. I played soccer until February. I retired.
Okay.
So 47 years, not
I
bad.
thought I saw videos of you playing rugby.
Well, I mean, I went out and I've gone out and like played with them. Like I've gone to scrimmages and pickups and
Okay.
touch rugby
Okay.
and I think there was a video of me at Potsy Field in November.
Yeah,
It was just kind of
some stuff.
running around and doing some stuff. But Newport, I'm like a big supporter.
Mm-hmm.
Not only do I support the team, but I sponsor the team. Back in 2006, we kind of came to an agreement where we put all our logos on their gear and bought them some jackets and hats and stuff. And I'm a fan. I mean, my dad is a rugby fanatic. Like when he's on holidays, he's hiding out outside coffee shops with like iPads trying to get the Munster game. So
Yeah.
rugby and Gaelic football and hurling and soccer is in my blood and
Yeah.
my DNA, and I love it. But no, I never played for Newport Rugby. We played it as schoolboys, obviously, in Ireland. But I'm just a supporter, and I'm always out there, and I'm friends with these guys, and
Yeah.
I'm at a lot of the events, and because I sponsor things, I get a lot of T-shirts and hats and jackets with or without my logo on it. So I wear the Newport Rugby stuff
Gotcha. Yeah.
a lot, so I can understand why there would be that perception. But no, I never actually played for Newport Rugby.
So your marketing is very impressive. I've noticed it everywhere. I saw your trucks. I see your cars multiplying now. What's your big secret? What's your start from square one coaching a business and they need to market? What do you tell them to do?
Well, we actually have some courses we're pushing out right now.
Marketing courses.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah,
very
Marielle wrote them and recorded them, and we're going to put them on the FT Listings website. I think it's ftlistings.com if you want to check it out.
Yeah.
But we're actually creating a course because we get asked constantly, and rather than just keep repeating ourselves or giving hours and hours and hours
Right.
to individual teams, we just created this course, and it's one of many modules, but there's only one out there for now. But I did have the marketing ideas. Like I did the Newport. People thought I was out of my mind to spend $6,000 on jackets for rugby players. Literally, this was in 2016. But I knew that if one of them bought a house from me, I essentially broke even.
Yeah.
And we ended up doing 11 transactions over the next 5
Oh
years.
my God.
Yeah, from that team. I know, it's amazing.
Oh my
But
God.
so I had that concept of the hats, the jackets, sponsoring teams, putting yourself out there. I had to come up with the logo. So I'd done all that myself. But really, the biggest thing that changed was hiring Marielle Maher. I don't know if you know her.
Yeah.
Yep. So I think I started to pursue her in like 16, 17. And I think eventually in 2018, she came on board, and she's been the main reason for everywhere I go. People talk about our marketing, like on the conventions in Texas or Vegas or California. They're like, "Oh my God, yeah, your marketing's great. Tell us about it." So
Yeah.
it's a lot got to do with Marielle.
Gotcha. She's doing a lot of the video work, production, stuff like that.
Well, she's the creative.
Yeah.
Like I can't even draw like a stick man. Like I've got like no musical ball in my body, no creativity,
Yeah.
very little imagination. I'm just a very kind of, I don't know, black and white is a good word, but I'm just like very
Yeah.
structured and basic.
Yeah.
Marielle is the creative force behind everything.
Yeah. You're on the business side of things. The
Yeah.
executive decision making side of things. My dad is a custom sign builder. He does airbrush work, really talented, does mural work, things like that. One of the things he's always said is that people will always spend money on signs when they're going out of business. It's like clockwork. When they're going in business, they're always apprehensive to pay the extra dollar for a good sign. But they're saying, whatever it takes, just put a bunch of signs out front. We're going out of business. We need to sell everything. So when it comes to that moment of desperation to try and get a lot of people in, they understand the value of signage. They understand the value of marketing.
Yeah.
But usually when it's too late,
Yeah, that's true. I never thought of it that way.
when you see a business going out of sale, you see it.
Yeah.
You know that those
that's
Olympia
true.
Sports going out of sale, going out of business. I mean, you see these things, and I think that's one thing that makes you guys unique is that there's a lot of real estate companies in Rhode Island, on the island, and you see how they market, and there's a traditional sense of their marketing. It's just put the sign out in the yard. And out of curiosity, the last few days in preparation for you and I sitting down, I'm just looking at other businesses, other I won't say any names, but I don't want to declare war between you and others, but I'm looking at these other different companies on the island, and I'm looking at the differences, and my God, they're stark as far as the marketing is concerned, as far as the camaraderie is concerned. There's not much of a feel other than I'm just going to go buy a house. Where with you guys, it seems like I've got people to work with. I've got a team to rely on. It seems like there's more of a, I guess as a customer, you don't want somebody who's just showing up in a suit, who comes from some office somewhere. You want somebody who's got a presence online, who's got a public reputation on the line, because they've got a lot more to lose. There's a lot more of them that they're putting themselves out there with. So I think that reveals you guys a little bit more. It makes you vulnerable in a way because you're more out there. Everybody knows you. And I think it's the biggest strength. I think that's what people miss the mark on, is they're not pushing, they're not marketing, they're not becoming something more genuine, more real for people to relate to.
Yeah.
And with companies that I've seen, and we haven't done the home buying process, we've just done renting because we're all over the place. But I've noticed it with rentals, I've noticed it with a lot of things. There's no emotion attached to it. There's not much genuine feeling behind it. I've gone on showings where people will show up, here's the key, they don't say anything to you, they just whatever. And I'm sure you've seen that. But there's been no, I'm renting now, but in a few years I might be buying.
Yeah.
So this was the perfect opportunity to develop a relationship.
Exactly. We are
So
100%. Well, first of all, let me say thank you for noticing and saying that to me, because it's very hard sometimes for me to understand the public's perception of what we're doing. So I appreciate you saying that, and it makes me very, very happy.
It's working.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it's working.
But, I'm not necessarily saying that real estate agents have commission breath, but like people notice that, like they spot a transactional agent a mile away. We're not transactional, we're relationship builders. Everybody on my team understands that spending a few minutes with Ben O'Connor today to explain how the washer dryer works in the basement of a 2-bedroom apartment in a multi-unit building at $1,600 a month, down the road will develop that relationship from tenant to buyer. Tenants become buyers, landlords become sellers. It's just a fact. That's the world that we live in. So if you don't treat that person with respect, or if you don't treat them the way you want to be treated, I said on a podcast last Friday that a good rule of thumb is pretend your mom's watching you in every single thing you do and say. It's because it really keeps you in check and controls how you your behavior sometimes. Like, that's something that I've done for years. But people don't get that. Everyone on my team understands that Ben O'Connor, the tenant, the $900 commission, it's not about the commission, it's not about the transaction. It's about an opportunity to build a relationship with somebody that can and probably will use you down the road. Well, the one biggest mistake, I don't know if real estate agents will be listening to this, but the one biggest mistake that I think real estate agents make is that they put all of their efforts and time and marketing and monies into getting a hold of that lead, finding that person, showing them houses, selling them houses, and getting to that commission. Okay? And then the relationship ends. What they don't understand is the average person will probably, either by referring you business or purchasing multiple properties over decades of time, will probably generate you 75 to 80% over their lifetime what you made on that first transaction. So they're putting all their time and effort into 15% of that person's potential, when they should be putting all of their time and effort and money and marketing dollars and phone calls and touching and gifts into post-sale. To protect that relationship in order to get the other 85% of business and referral from that person. Whether it's a rental, Ben, or a sale, that first transaction is a tiny percentage of the potential of that person giving you business over both of your lifetimes. Even if you're as old as me, I still got like 20, 25 years left, right? If I rented you a house today, is it conceivable that you could buy 2 or 3 houses from me? Is it conceivable that you could refer 2 or 3 of your friends to me?
100%.
6 transactions.
Easy.
And you're ending the relationship after 1. Makes no sense.
But what I find too is that with music, we're doing these corporations, we're playing these corporate events, destination events, and I guess a rebuttal or the other perspective would say, well, you guys are just doing this to just get more money. You're just doing it to secure more business for your future. And we do the same with music. When we perform for the American Airlines, we perform with these Forge Rock companies, or we go in with the mentality that we want to become your friend. We want to become somebody that you can trust and somebody that you can count on to be there early, because in the musical world, a lot of people like to show up 5 minutes before, quick plug in, sound check, and hope everything's good. There's all these little things that I find that you and I parallel with the business, and I think it makes a massive difference down the road, not just for your own profit, but you develop friendships, you develop relationships with people. And I think the other thing not to forget is that we're offering a deep amount of value for those individuals, whether they're hiring us to do a show or they're hiring you to go buy a home. That personalized home buying process is not just about you cashing a check and making more business for the future. It's offering them an experience that's very difficult to come by anywhere. Because number one, trust and that camaraderie, that team mentality, like I mentioned before, that's hard to come by. It's not easy to come by. And when you're doing something as emotional as buying your first home or selling the home you've been in your whole life, you want to be with people that are good people.
Yeah.
And clearly, from working with you guys, you're good people. And you see that not just with your social platforms, but the people that you're involved with in your community. You're not just a real estate office. You're just not. You're embedded in people's lives with this island, from the sponsors of the rugby team to just sponsoring. Are you in Little League, by the way?
Yeah.
You're in Little League.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
soccer at Middletown. We do all the.
Yeah.
It's all about the youth and investing in them. Yeah, for sure. We do all that.
So yeah, it's marketing. Yeah, it's expanding your business. But
I think Marielle said we were involved in sponsoring 36 events in 2022.
Wow.
Yeah, and they're all on the island.
So what that does, in my perspective, what that does is that puts you guys out there even more. And it elevates the expectation for you to not only be honest and upfront with your clients, but to not screw anybody over. Because the last thing you want is to screw somebody just for moral reasons, but outside of that, for business reasons, because everybody knows your brand.
Yeah.
And all it takes is one article of somebody saying something bad for it to come out, and now you've got all this word against you on the Newport Daily News.
Yeah.
And so I think what happens is there's a level of value and appreciation for your clients that you're offering them that a lot of other real estate companies miss, a lot of other bands miss. Like you said, that they're not going to just hire you once. They're not going to have you play just one event. We're not going to perform for their Christmas party, and then why not their July 4th? Let's do another one.
Yeah.
It's all about that relationship, and I think it goes further than just for the sake of future business.
Yeah.
I think it has a lot more to do with just the genuine development of a relationship, of a friendship that can be created, and also offering them something that's not going to be available to them elsewhere.
Yeah.
And it's just, with the real estate market, that alone, I've in the last 4 or 5 years, we've rented maybe 6 or 7 total places, between little studios and apartments, things like that. Not one of them did we have an experience where it was lifelong. It was just, here you go, here's the keys.
Yeah. Could have been.
Could have been. And now I just asked you, we're looking to get into multi-unit property.
Yep.
And because of our sponsorship, if we're going to buy here, I'm calling you.
Yeah, but
So-
you might not have if that person had nurtured that relationship. It's possible.
It's possible.
Yeah, some of my best friends don't use me for a real estate agent, and that's perfectly fine. It meant that they're happy with their agent, and their agent did a good job of following up and touching them every couple of months with a little gift or a little handwritten note or little video or text or email, carrier pigeon, whatever it is that you like. If you reach out and keep yourself involved in that person's life, like Reese right now is following up with all of the Calvert people. They're all rentals, but she understands that they will buy someday. But one of the things she said to me is that never really clicked with me, is that because of how we conduct ourselves, we do hold ourselves to a higher standard, and we are like that. I could run into that person at Shaw's next week. Like, it's not like I'm conducting something through the internet from thousands of miles away. Yeah. But
and there's not so much of a professionalism with you guys that it's unattainable and untouchable. You guys are professional, but also personal. I think if it's too professional in any sense, in any field, maybe lawyers or doctors, sure, but I think in any field, If you're too professional, you lose that personal touch, that relationship opportunity. Where I notice with you guys, it's very professional, but it's also very easy to become you guys' friends.
Yeah.
And I think that's a tribute to you and how you present yourself, and not just through your business, but personally. It's like you said, you didn't market, you did not advertise the fact that you wanted to grow your team, yet it multiplied by what, 3?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just being genuine. I just had a 5-hour flight to Phoenix with a guy who's he's really into like life coaching and great person, and just a constant conversation with him. And I said, well, what's your secret? You know, what's your thing that you always tell your clients? And he says, just be genuine. It comes back to just being genuine. And he said there's more complex ways of getting into it, and we could talk all day about the ins and outs of things, but the psychological effect of just being genuine and being real.
Yeah.
To yourself and to other people, that's all it is.
I agree.
It's very, very simple.
Yeah, I mean, I've said this before, Ben, but treat people right.
Yeah.
Make sure your clients are happy. The money will come.
Yeah.
That's how we genuinely believe our business should be run. So, a lot of the people, I think, put the money first or focus on the commission. The commissions are what allow us to exist as a business. But they're not our focus and never will be. It's probably the 4th or 5th most important thing when I'm meeting with a potential client.
I've heard this before, is don't follow the contracts, follow the contacts.
Yeah.
And that's I think the main thing that we try and do, and it's hard. It's hard, especially when it's slow. It's very, very hard to.
I like that, then.
Right, and it's. I think it was Grant Cardone. Do you follow Grant Cardone? Have you
No.
heard of him? He's a real estate guy in Florida, and I've just noticed that where I'm like, if you follow the contacts, if you chase the contacts and not the contracts, it ends up better for everybody.
Yeah, I love that. It
Simple.
Makes total sense.
Yeah. So I know you got to go soon. Question for
Is
you.
that Claire knocking at the door? That might be Claire. Did you hear her knock?
I thought I did. I couldn't.
Okay, well, let's just ignore her till she comes back.
Okay. Last question
We got a
for
few
you.
more minutes,
Yeah. Where and when do you stop? And do you have plans to grow? Do you have plans to go Mass, Connecticut, New York, other states, other growth plans that you have?
Yeah,
Back your mind.
I'm trying. As recently as 2018, I was probably responsible for a minimum of 75% of the revenue.
For
Which-
Remax.
No, for the Fitzpatrick team.
Okay.
And I've tried very, very hard over the last 2 years to get that down to 50% because I want to get to a place where my production equals 25% or less of the team production. Now, you don't achieve that by just not making calls and stop doing sales because that doesn't help anybody, but you try to pass off business to the other agents on the team, you try to encourage them, you try to manage them, you try to get their sales up, because I want 2 things. I want a sellable asset. I mean, a lot of real estate agents build up a huge business. Or it could be anything. It could be the bread man. It could be anything. But if you take that person out of that business, it's worthless. I want to build a business that you can take me out and the business still exists, and still profitable, and still does huge amount of sales. But also, if I can get to 25% production, that will give me the time I need to be what I really want to be, which is agent-centric. I want to manage and help the agents on this team achieve their goals. They want to buy a property. They want to buy a new car. They want to help their parents. They have their own goals. And I really want to get to the point, I'm in year, say 2, maybe 2.5 of a 5-year plan to go from 75% to 25%. And once I hit that, then I'll start thinking about franchising. I mean, could we have a Fitzpatrick team in a Remax office in Florida? If 1 or 2 of my agents want to relocate there? Absolutely. Could I put an office in a Remax brokerage in Connecticut? Absolutely. It's about perfecting the systems prior to expanding. But yes, I have thought about doing this, and I have some thoughts on how this could work, but I want to tighten up what I have here first so that it's super tight, systems are down, training's in place, everybody knows what we're doing. We have that franchise mentality in place prior to
your branding's already there.
Well, the branding's already there, but there's still a few things I'm trying to tighten up in the
sure.
systems, and I want everybody here to be perfect before I try and bring it somewhere else. But yes, the long-term thought process is that we could put a Fitzpatrick team office with our systems and how we like to operate in any Remax office anywhere in the country.
I love it.
Yeah.
So other than Rhode Island, let's say Quinnipiac, for someone like us going on the road, getting ready to go, and over the next couple of years, getting ready to buy something as far as income property goes, a multi-unit, where, in your opinion, would be the best as far as markets are concerned? As far as if you were to do this, if you were to go travel America, where would you say would be the best place to go move to for the market itself?
Well, I mean, it's impossible for me to answer that without knowing your inclinations. I mean, do you like the sun? Do you like the snow? Do you like the cold? Do you like the hot? Do you want to be close to home? I mean,
I'd say beaches. Close to home doesn't really matter. Near the
okay.
oceans.
I mean, I think that there are a lot of opportunities in Florida right now. I think that Florida is going through, not because of the hurricanes and because of disasters and floodings, but I just think that Florida is still going through a huge transition of people leaving the north and heading south, and when they're going there, they usually go to Florida because it's affordable, but also very, very nice. The weather's nice, the climate, everybody loves it. I would think that you could do worse than Florida. I think the states between, say, DC and Florida are just too unpredictable for me. I don't know enough about the Carolinas, Georgia. I don't know enough about those particular locations. I know a lot of people are moving to Texas.
Yeah.
So if I had to pick one, I'd rather not.
Without any research, I'm throwing you on the spot.
And without knowing enough about, the nations. I would guess I would say Texas or Florida.
Cool. All right, well, we'll have to invite you down.
Yeah,
We're going to be parked there for a little bit.
I'll be there.
Go
This thing's
see some
amazing.
Tampa game.
Yeah.
We're Tom Brady. As soon as he moved, it was a little heartbroken. I think a lot of New Englanders were.
Yeah.
And we're going down November 1st to Tampa. We've got a little RV park that we'll be in, and they're playing on the 6th. So we'll hope to catch that game.
Cool.
Just to see him again. We don't know when he's going to retire.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
it's
true.
Could be any time.
He had a bit of a stinker yesterday, though.
Did he?
Yeah,
I didn't see. He's been too busy trying to get this thing done.
They got absolutely crushed by Carolina yesterday. The worst team in the league. So.
See, he could have a horrible game. I just want to see him at least one more time.
No, I hear you. Yeah, November 6th is, I'll be at the Patriots.
Nice.
Indianapolis game, so.
Nice.
We'll both be at an NFL stadium.
Good.
Yeah,
I love it. Thanks for the time today. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
All right.
Are going on a run. There's no rules, just say whatever comes to mind. Thought-provoking conversations with good people.